And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. And hope you're having a great Friday. I have a very special guest today, our friend Josh Morgerman, the hurricane hunter. Hang tight 1 second, and we'll come back to him in just a second. But I wanted to let you know some news that came out of Japan this week is really interesting from Tohoku University. They've identified a new treatment candidate that appears to not only halt neurodegenerative symptoms in mice models of dementia and Alzheimer's, but they also reverse the effects of this disorder. And they're working now. They actually wrote an article that ran in June the 8th in the International Journal of Molecular Science. And the Japan's governing board has approved for them to go to clinical trials with humans. That is incredible when you think about it. And every time I think about the advancements in biotechnology, I just say, wow. It's going to be interesting to see if they can pull this forward, because we all know someone who is suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's, and to think that we're getting close to some kind of cure even in our lifetime is really truly amazing. Incidentally, that got me thinking about a company that I've been reading a lot about lately, CRISPR. It's CRISPR, CRISPR. And it's an acronym, and I'll tell you what that means in just a second. But this is a company that's doing gene editing inside the human body, and they're designing treatments that can literally fix rare mutations that are linked to tissue and organ degeneration. And essentially what they will be able to do, blood disorders and blindness and cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy, even aging. So much there. I mean, there's a lot of ethical considerations and a lot of debate about that. But the fact is, bioengineering is moving forward very, very rapidly, and it's going to be interesting to see where all this goes. We're going to see changes that are just enormous in our lifetime. So now let's move to my friend Josh Morgerman, better known as Cyclone. He's the top hurricane chaser in the world. He made Bay St. Louis his home last year. And it was a record-breaking season, I might add. And he's back again in Bay St. Louis, back in the same house again in Bay St. Louis. He affectionately calls Hurricane House for this hurricane season. Josh, welcome back to Coast Vue, buddy.
It is awesome to be back in Bay St. Louis, and it's awesome to be back on your show. Thank you, Ricky.
Well, I'm really interested. And so, first we're going to get to what was the calculus to come back? You're in LA, you have a very successful business. You've chased hurricanes all around the world. But before we move on, man, you're a Harvard graduate, you're a smart guy. Since we met last year, we've become pretty good friends, and you're thoughtful. You think about what science and technology is doing today, coming back to the way I opened this story, it's both exciting and scary at the same time, but it's here to stay. I mean, technology in every aspect of our lives is here to stay, and the sciences are obviously a part of that. Do you have any thoughts about any of that?
Yeah, listening to that segment, I mean, the idea that there might be a treatment or a solution to Alzheimer's is amazing. And I sometimes when I read about these advancements in medicine, you start to wonder, in a few decades, are people just going to live until they're 150 or like forever? I mean, it's kind of, it goes beyond what we could have imagined, when we were kids.
Yeah, there are a lot of, I've been reading a lot about it, so, we're not going to get into it now, but there's a lot of debate in the medical community about it in an area called informed consent, when making sure people truly understand what's going to happen when they get in there and start messing around with chromosomes. There's the issue of genome editing research that happens on embryos, and what's the problem, potential issues with that. And then there's this thing they call off-target effect. And initially, unfortunately, they go in and they intend to rearrange one gene, but they do another, change the sequence of another, and you get unintended consequences from that. So, there's a lot of debate in the industry about it, but it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's here to stay. And the fact that we're having a say on when we live and when we die and at a genetic level, it's incredible. It's going to be interesting to watch that. But that's not what your specialty specialty is. You know the genetic level of hurricanes.
There we go.
So, so tell me about the calculus that you went through after this record-breaking year last year, thousands of miles of driving. What was the calculus to come back?
It's a good question because I thought about it a lot. So last year it was really simple. The entire world was shut down and I was going to be confined to the United States, Southeast United States, basically. And when I looked at a map, Mississippi was a midpoint from which I could drive to all other places where I might want to chase. While living here, I developed a very special affection, for coastal Mississippi and specifically Bay St. Louis. I mean, you and I have talked about this, but I feel really like, some connection to this town now. So for this year, the logical calculus was still fairly simple because although we're coming out of the pandemic and, it almost feels like a distant memory here. I know I shouldn't say that, but it does. Even in LA is just open and everyone's out and it's just feels almost like it never happened. It's very strange. But a lot of the world is still shut down in terms of travel. So it's looking like typhoon season. Taiwan, Japan, all those countries where I like to go to hunt down cyclones or typhoons, they're all still shut down, meaning it looks like it's going to be another North America-centric season. So it makes sense to once again be over here. And then just that aside, I realized I was really looking for an excuse to come back. I mean, I could definitely say that. There's something, I just wanted to come back to Bay St. Louis.
Josh, it's so interesting because, we've had these conversations before. And I see, with your friends, you're having to explain your thinking behind it. But I talked to a couple who made a development, who invested significant money actually in Ocean Springs recently, and they had a very successful business in Southern California. And they decided after, her father was from Biloxi, and they came to visit him. He had a place in Bay St. Louis, for a matter of fact. And her father said, you need to drive over to Ocean Springs and check it out. And they kind of fell in love. They made an investment. Eventually, they sold their business in Southern California, and they came here. And it was, I'll share that little segment with you when we're off the air. But there's a great segment where they're talking about the difference between where they were and what they found here, or what they thought about Mississippi and what they experienced when they came here. That they had this one frame in their head, and they came here and they found this place to be so accepting and so open and so wonderfully focused on helping businesses, to do business. It is interesting how people have this one perception of Mississippi, but when they come here, they find something different, and so often they fall in love with it. Is that kind of your experience as well?
Yeah, I mean, I should say I came here with an open mind. I mean, I was born in New York City. I've lived in LA most of my adult life, so I'm definitely what you call like a big city coastal guy. But I also, I like to travel around the world. I like to be in places that are not what I'm used to, and where people are not like me. I enjoy that. To me, like, life is an adventure. Go to places where everything feels different. So I was coming here expecting, just it basically almost like it's like coming to a foreign country, which it is. And that's what's exciting about the U.S. Being an American, you got 50 states that are 50 really, really different experiences. I mean, each state, think about it, that California and Mississippi and New York are all under the same flag. That's cool. I mean, that variety is fun. So I came here expecting it to be really different, wanting it to be really different. I think what I was surprised about is how much I felt connected to it. Just that was the surprise. I just and how much I took to living in a town of about 14 or 15,000. It's funny, there was no adjustment. I felt like the second I got here, I don't know, man. It just really connected with the energy, which is, it's different. I think that every American should do this. I think if you're a small town person, live in a big city for 6 months. If you're a big city person, live in a small town for 6 months. Try it. Just see kind of how the other side lives, and just kind of enjoy the kind of the variety and the difference. For me, it's been really good. And it's not like, oh, I'm rejecting LA or I don't like LA, because some people are like, well, do you like Mississippi better than LA? It's not that. It's just kind of like it's different flavors of ice cream and they're all good, And so for me living here, I definitely feel like, wow, it's you could definitely make a life here, in my opinion. I don't know. I feel like I have everything I need here.
Well, what's interesting about you and your chasing, with the exception of when you did the reality show Hurricane Man for the BBC, which was internationally popular, I might add, you actually do these things. You do the chasing alone. You kind of prefer that, don't you?
Yeah, I'm a pretty reclusive dude. Like, except, I like doing TV. I like being on TV and performing or whatever. But when I'm not doing that, I'm a recluse. And or except when I'm hanging out with you, Ricky, then I'll open up a little bit. When I see you and Ann, that's my more outgoing side.
Well, for sure. And we enjoy your company. Hey, when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Josh Morgerman, the top hurricane chaser in the world. We're going to look back slightly on last year, the record breaker, and look at this year already. We're starting to see a lot of things percolating. Someone said the other day that it's June, but it already looks like August if you go down and look at where the storms start to form. So we're going to talk about that and get his expertise about that. We'll see you after this break.
Coast View on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here at I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, casinoradio1063.com.
This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have my friend Josh Morgerman, the top hurricane chaser in the world. You can find him. Just go do a search on social media, iCyclone. And if you don't know him, you'll be amazed at his journeys over the past several years. You know, Josh, you and I talked about this the last time we visited. Last year was just, I mean, you could not have picked a better place to be in the U.S. in terms of central location to chase the storms you chased. It was an incredible year, wasn't it?
It was nuts. This was the second most active year on record going back to 1851 in terms of Gulf Coast hurricane landfall. So not only was it a busy year last year, but it was a very Gulfy, very Gulf-centric year. And it was crazy that of all the years I picked to live on the Gulf Coast right in the heart of it, that it would be last year. It was nuts.
So what had happened last year, for people who are not paying attention to this, and Josh, you can add to this whatever you want to, the Bermuda High sort of built in last year, sort of the way it's positioned now. Like a lot of the experts said we wouldn't see that this year, that it would push out and that this year would be more of an East Coast type of situation. But that Bermuda High built in, and it steered storms in from the Caribbean on up into the Gulf of Mexico to the northern Gulf Coast. It was just, and it was set. It got set, and it didn't change, did it, Josh?
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at hurricanes historically, you will see multi-year patterns. You'll see certain areas over multiple years, certain areas will get hit again and again. So, for example, Florida hasn't gotten hit really. The Florida Peninsula hasn't really gotten any action in a long time. The years right after World War II, 1945 to 1950, Florida had 5 Category 4 hurricanes with direct hits on Miami, Fort Lauderdale. I mean, it was like nuts. It was all over Florida. Then you look at the 1950s, when my mom was a teenager in New York, they were getting hit again and again because the mid-50s, everything was coming up the East Coast of the U.S., that especially 1954. But you'll have like multiple years of the same thing kind of, and I'm wondering if we're just in a Gulf phase right now. You know, that's the vibe I'm getting just with the last couple of years. Think about it, you know, even 2018, where did the really, really bad hurricane happen? The Category 5 Hurricane Michael, it was on the Florida Panhandle, you know, and then last year was very Gulf-centric, and this year some of the patterns are indicating we might be still in this Gulf pattern.
So let's explain this. Let's explain the main development zone and that region of the Atlantic between Africa and where the Caribbean islands start north of the equator, why that's critical and why you don't normally see a lot of activity coming out of there this time of year. It's usually sort of an August, September, October kind of thing. What are you seeing out there today?
Yeah, so we're still in June, and I keep forgetting we're still in June. When I look at the satellite pictures and I look at the map of where the disturbances are, it feels like we're in the middle of hurricane season. Usually in June, I'm not even looking out there toward Africa. The possible chase targets or possible threats to the Gulf Coast are usually originating close to home. There's spin-ups that are happening right in the Gulf, or they're happening in the Northwest Caribbean, and then they're just kind of moving up. They're the local homegrown kind of spin-ups, I call them. Right now, we're looking at some disturbances that came off of Africa and that are in that zone that you talked about that are just way, way out there. Usually this time of year, they don't make it across, and that area is not as fertile as it appears to be right now. And one disturbance in particular is the Hurricane Center has now upgraded it to I don't want to say code red because that sounds like really serious. It's just a disturbance, but they're color coding it red, meaning they now expect it to develop as it comes across the Caribbean, and it looks like it's kind of heading in the general direction of the Gulf. So it could be as early as next week. Folks on the Gulf Coast are going to be having to really think about this stuff. Well, you guys already have. I mean, Claudette just happened. I was still in LA when that thing happened. I mean, things got going early this year. One last thing I want to say, I have not done any research to scientifically support this. I'd have to look at really doing some statistical breakdown of this. But a lot of years you'll see an early season landfall of a weak tropical storm that kind of foretells where a lot of the activity is going to be going later. You think of like last year, Cristobal, it was this early season junk storm, but created some disruption here in Mississippi. There was some storm surge flooding from it. crystal ball ended up sort of being a little bit of a foreshadowing of what happened last year, which was Gulf impact after Gulf impact. And I wonder if Claudette was kind of like the crystal ball of this year.
And ending with Zeta, that was quite an amazing storm at that time of year. I mean, the end of October. I mean, we've had some bad luck, haven't we?
Yeah, Zeta was, what a way to end the season. Wow. You feel by mid-October, on the Gulf Coast, you start to feel like you're out of the woods. And, for Zeta to come, just roaring out of the Gulf like that, it was like the horror movie where you think it's over and the hand comes out of the grave. That's what Zeta was. That thing was weird. Since we're talking about weather, let's be very specific here. Josh and I were able to connect. This is Wednesday. This is going to be airing on Friday. A lot of what we're talking about now are trends. So whatever we're talking about as it relates to the development of hurricanes or as it relates to the Hurricane Center's current interpretation, it could change by Friday. It could be picked up somewhat. It could dissipate between now and then. So just keep that in mind as you listen to this show, that we're really talking about general trends. The position of the Bermuda High, which is not in a good spot right now as it relates to the Gulf, and the fact that we're already beginning to see storms that are coming off Africa that are actually in the main development zone that we would not normally see this time of year. So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a hyper season. I mean, things could slow down and atmospheric conditions could change, but it is something to note this early in the season, right, Josh? Absolutely, and I'm glad you said that this is a very imprecise science. We look at computer models to try to understand the future. It's like looking at a crystal ball every 6 hours, and the computer models, vary run to run, and it does become about trends. It's not what any single run of the computer model says. It's not about what one model says. It's about the general, as you said, the trends that you're starting to feel. Looking at the different models run after run, you start to get an idea of what's going to happen. But we don't know. At the end of the day, these things are going to do what they want. I mean, I hate not to personify them. They don't think, of course, but they almost seem like they do. Like when as a hurricane chaser, I do look at the hurricane. It's sort of like my prey. It's my arch enemy. I'm hunting it down.
Hey, so it's interesting. So your BBC show is still kind of on hold. There's been other negotiations taking place. You haven't reported any of that yet. In the meantime, you're doing I think monthly YouTube Live with your audience around the world. Anything to report on that front in terms of possibility of TV shows, et cetera?
Yeah, so right now I'm in negotiation with a major streaming platform, and the only reason I can't mention them is because we're talking about the contract now. But it would be a series. We'd started as a pilot. It would be just basically looking back at sort of like war stories from my past chases. So I've been, as you know, in many crazy adventures. I've been in the strongest landfalling tropical cyclones in East Asia and Mexico and the U.S., just everywhere. And so this would be sort of looking back at my greatest adventures, just kind of telling those tales. And if that gets going, we'll be starting to shoot it this summer. I actually might have to go back to LA for a few days between the hurricanes to do the shooting and everything. So I'm hoping to have more information about that soon. I'm one of these guys. I like to always have like a TV project happening, at some stage of development.
Well, you've got a video historical perspective on all of your activities. And for people who haven't been there, maybe this is the first time you've heard our conversation with Josh, I really encourage you to look him up on social media. You can go to his YouTube page. There are a couple of storms that really come to mind. There's several that come to mind, but one is Hurricane Patricia. How do you say that in Spanish?
Patricia.
Patricia.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to
Mexico.
say the Spanish style, Patricia.
It wouldn't come out. And the other one is Dorian and the Bahamas. I mean, for the Dorian experience in particular, I thought Josh was dead. I was long before I knew Josh. I was just a follower of Josh. And that storm, if you remember, it came in as a Category 5. It sat on top of the island that it hit for hours and hours and hours and hours. And of course, everyone was thinking there's no way anyone could survive this storm. And for some many hours, Josh was missing and presumed dead, and then finally just showed back up again. But you can see those videos. It's incredible what he's been up to. Those are a couple of notable ones, aren't they?
Yeah, I would say Dorian definitely is. I don't think I'm going to top that, Chase. Not only a Category 5, but if there was a Category 6, that would have been a 6. So, sustained winds of 185 miles an hour when it passed over Great Abaco Island, where I went right through the eye at a little town called Marsh Harbor. And as you said, we just got totally slammed. And this thing was off the charts. And then, I was trapped there for days afterward. I mean, for days. So, when I got back to the U.S., I didn't have any communication leading up to that. So when I finally did resurface, I saw all the rumors that I died.
And all the national media were really interested in you during that time. Hey, we're out of time, but let me just say this. We're going to have you back regularly during the season to talk to us about what we're seeing. You'll do some chases. Hopefully they're away from here, and we'll get a chance to see your experience as it relates to that. But more than anything, you're a good guy. You're a good ambassador for this area, Josh. I watch what you say about this place on your social media. And there are people literally from around the world who follow you. And as a result of your passion for Bay St. Louis and coastal Mississippi, you're singing our praises. And I appreciate that. And I want to be one among the many that will say, welcome back to the coast.
Oh, thank you very much. And, my selfish side is thinking maybe I shouldn't talk it up so much because I feel like it's my little discovery and I don't want other people to know about it. So.
Good for you. This is Josh Morgerman, the top hurricane hunter in the world, and we'll see you after this.
Thanks, Ricky.
.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And,
wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi.
SuperTalk Mississippi. Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth. When you want the truth. Simply because it might hurt some feelings. And nothing but the truth. Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. I really enjoyed that conversation with Josh Morgerman, the hurricane chaser, iCyclone, the top hurricane chaser in the world. He made Bay St. Louis his home last year, and he's back again this year. So we'll have the benefit of talking to him throughout the season. He's a hurricane historian, a hurricane expert, and boy, did he experience a dramatic season last year. Let's hope it's not a dramatic season this year. So without any further ado, let's move over to my friend Jeff Duncan from The Athletic. He's covered the Saints more than anyone else on earth. How you doing, Jeff?
Ricky, I'm doing great, man. I'm looking forward to another great week here in New Orleans. It's the dog days have hit us. You know what that's like. Every day is the same. It's like Groundhog Day over here. But I'm looking forward to the start of football season. It's going to be here right before you know it.
Well, hey, let's focus on one thing. I always say Jeff Duncan from The Athletic, but for people in coastal Mississippi who know WVUE, you've actually been doing commentary for them all along. And when I was president of NOLA Media Group and publisher of the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com, we had this great partnership with WVUE. We won awards together, Peabody Awards together, and did amazing work together. But you've continued to do your commentary. And you've got a really good association with them, and then you're sort of a multimedia expert. You do, of course, Coast Vue with me every Friday, but that partnership with WVUE is pretty significant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great team. Kudos to you and working out that arrangement as far as partnerships, because it's been very, very fruitful, and I think a great learning experience for me getting to do TV work. That team at Fox 8 is just tremendous. Juan Kincaid and that whole crew. We not only do I do my commentaries every Monday night after Saints games during football season, but actively involved, making regular appearances on Final Play and overtime shows. They do more, we do more, I should say, local sports content than any TV station in town. We have the largest sports staff in town, and it's been a lot of fun along with my good friend Deuce McAllister. We're kind of the Saints analysts for Fox 8. So we have a great time putting together those shows. And as you know, Fox carries most of the Saints games. So it's really been a very productive partnership.
Yeah, I've been pleased to see, and people, all they have to do is go to the WVUE website and look up your commentary. They'll see that there. Like all other TV stations, like radio stations, the digital arm at WVUE is very strong. So if you don't have access to that signal, you can still have access to Jeff. It is the way it is. You can put an app on your TV and have access to it. That's one of the ways that I do. But it's really a fine radio station. Excuse me, TV station. We're a fine radio station, but they're a fine TV station, and the investigative reporting that they do, they're a sister station to WLOX, for a matter of fact. So the investigative reporting they do through Lee Zurich is literally some of the best in the country, isn't it?
Yeah, and a little shameless plug. Lee Zurich and I are working on a big story that's going to come out towards the start of football season, and I'm sure it's going to be broadcast over there with our sister station about Saints Pelicans. I won't go any further than that, but I think it's going to be a big splash right before the start of football season. We worked on it for a number of months together. Lee and I go back decades in the business, and he is a true pro. I think one of the best in the country. So this partnership, he and I worked on a story a year ago on the Field of Dreams project in the 9th Ward, and this is the second time we've got a chance to work together. I really enjoy it.
Well, first of all, he's a good guy, but he is a really, really good investigative reporter. He is dogged. He is data-based. He is fact-based. He's not the kind of gotcha guy. He really focuses on getting the story right and getting the story deeply told. That are stories that are important community, stories. We knew this from our long years in media, Jeff. But it is amazing how important it is to shine the light of day on people who are in positions of power, isn't it?
Yeah, and Lee is as good as anybody at doing that, and that's our role as journalists, is to stand up to power and also to just report the truth. And Lee has always been guided by that. That's his divining rod, and it's really a lot of fun to get the chance to work with him and learn how to do it in a broadcast medium, because my whole background, of course, has always been print. And as you said earlier, I mean, that's the way the industry's going, Ricky. You have to have multimedia training and the ability to tell stories on different platforms. So it's been really rewarding for me in my career to get a chance to get this experience.
Yeah, I would think that you're a pretty sought after commodity these days. Your connections, I mean, your depth of resources, your depth of sources. Whew, man. I mean, no one can tell the story better than you. What I remember, again, we'll move on after this, but what I remember is when the Benson family feud erupted. You're the one who broke the story. You're the one who you led that story from the very beginning, and you did it in a way that was accurate and fact based, and you came out of it, and you told the story accurately. It all played out the way it played out, and you can always tell a good reporter when they get done. They don't burn bridges. When they get done, they still have amazing sources. In your case, Miss Benson, the Saints organization, I think they all appreciated the fact that you were so focused on making sure that story was accurately told. And as a result of doing that, your sources trust you, don't they?
Well, I've been fortunate in that regard, yes. I mean, it helps that I've had longevity here in the New Orleans market. And if you think about it, Ricky, just the unusual nature of the New Orleans Saints, their stability. From Gail Benson to Dennis Lauscha to Mickey Loomis to Sean Payton on the football side, the business operations executives, there's really been unprecedented stability there. So it's helped to build those relationships because we've gone through a number of stories together, worked on stories together, and I'm not having to meet new people every 5 years, which is kind of the pattern in pro sports. It's very unusual to have this front office intact as long as they've been. And I think that's helped on both sides earn and develop trust.
Well, it's not just Dean, it's not just Mickey, it's not just Miss Benson, but it's all their gatekeepers. and they could pretty quickly banish you if they felt like you were a reporter they didn't trust. So the fact that you've been able to maintain that over all these years is really amazing. And as you and I both know, Dane and Mickey are terrific guys. They're really working hard to run a first-class organization in the Saints. And now with all the work that they're doing on the Pelican side, it's taking time. As you and I have discussed before, as Mickey Loomis told me once, it's one of the great experiments in the United States, having ownership group for an NFL franchise and an NBA franchise play out simultaneously. And they're serious about getting this done, which is probably why the level of excellence that they expect in the Pelicans is not where it needs to be, which is why they were making a coaching change. So maybe we'll just segue into what's the latest on that.
Yeah, they're hot and heavy in the middle of it right now. And, David Griffin's running that charge. He's got to get this right, Ricky. I mean, they've gone through now the two coaches, Alvin Gentry and, of course, Stan Van Gundy, and the clock is ticking on the Zion Williamson tenure. So a lot on the line for David Griffin. Gail Benson has invested multi-million dollars, millions and millions in the front office, adding positions, bolstering the executive level, hiring also in the training and conditioning team. They're expecting results. They've got to get this right. And the problem in a small market is sometimes it takes time to put these things together and to win. And I think that's the crunch that David Griffin feels right now, trying to win while trying to also develop sustained success the way Oklahoma City has done it, the way San Antonio has done it. That's what you have to do in small markets in the NBA. But time is not on their side. They've got to get this right with this hire. There's some young assistants out there they're very high on, a guy named Willie Green in Phoenix, who's right now in the middle of the Western Conference Finals, a guy named Charles Lee, who's a lead assistant for the Milwaukee Bucks, also in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think those are the two lead candidates right now in the running, both younger former players that can relate to the current younger players in the league. I think that's a big factor for David Griffin in the front office to find somebody that is younger maybe that can relate to this young roster they have.
What's interesting, Jeff, you look at the current finals. I mean, you just sort of alluded to two of the teams engaged in that. You're seeing that for a while there, we thought it was going to be the age of the super teams, the Lakers, for example. And what you're seeing is that you do have more control over the destiny of your team than you realize. And they just, by bringing in great leadership and good coaching and making the right kind of player moves and spending some money, they can change the course of destiny, can't they?
Yeah, very much so. And look, the Phoenix Suns are a great example. A year ago, they didn't make the playoffs. They were under 500. They go out and add Chris Paul, a couple other veterans around their core young roster, guys like DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. And look at them. They're on the verge of making their first finals appearance in over a decade, turned it around very quickly. And I think the same thing could happen here if they make the right hire and the right moves personnel-wise to fit around Zion Williamson.
When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this conversation we've been having about Jameis Winston. Jeff says, don't ordain him so quick. Don't ordain him so quick. We'll talk about that in just a minute. We'll see you after this break.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera slips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Jeff Duncan from The Athletic joining us. Hey, Jeff, we're gonna get into the Saints next, and I want to get into that as it relates to James. But real quick, the mayor this week had a conference about crime in New Orleans, and I wanted to ask you, because you're a New Orleanian, do you feel safe in the city these days?
I definitely do. I've felt safe ever since I've lived here. I actually feel much safer now than when I first moved to New Orleans in 2000. I've lived uptown my entire life, the uptown neighborhood. I feel very safe. I know there's random crime here. There's no doubt about it. It's an issue, but I've lived here 2 decades and never had one incident. I guess I'm either fortunate, or I think if you just use common sense in the city, you can avoid some of these incidents that I think have plagued people. You just got to know where to go, when to go. And again, I've never felt unsafe here. I've never had one single thing happen to me. So I try and tell people, a lot of these headlines you get can seem sensational, but for someone that lives here, and all my friends, I don't know anybody in my friend group that's had any issues for as long as we've lived here.
Well, I lived in the warehouse district, Ann and I did, when we were there, and I ran along the river and all through the French Quarter, and I mean almost every day actually, and never felt unsafe. What we're seeing, there's There is a huge issue in certain parts of the city as it relates to gang activity, and a lot of 50% of African American men in the city are unemployed, and the pandemic sort of exacerbated some of that. So it's usually very targeted crime, and the city's focused on it. They're working really, really hard to do something about it. But I personally never felt unsafe there the whole time I was in New Orleans, not one time. So it's good to hear you say that.
Yeah, look, I would encourage people to come visit. It's unbelievable city, as you know. It's a world-class destination, global destination market. And I've been out the last few weekends around town. The economy's coming back. The restaurant scene is coming back now that more people are being vaccinated. It's starting to feel normal again. And, man, do we need that. So I would encourage people not to be concerned with some of these headlines and get out and see the city for themselves, because I just think it's the most distinctive American city that we have. The European influence, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it is. I have a couple of very, very close friends who have places over there, and they spend just about every weekend there, and actually 3 now that I think about it, and they all love it. The city is easy to fall in love with, let's face it. Okay, Jameis Winston, he keeps getting sort of crowned, and the competition has barely even started yet. Talk about that.
Well, it hasn't even started. It's going to start during training camp when they start up in late July, Ricky, and I just feel like everyone is anointing Jameis as the winner of the competition before it's ever even begun. And I think it's going to be completely wide open. I mean, when Sean Payton says there's going to be a competition, he means it. I don't know why people have, just because Jameis Winston's working out in the offseason with some teammates doesn't mean he's got the job. He's going to have to win it in practice, in the preseason games. And I would not count out Taysom Hill at all. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. Both guys have great strengths. And I just feel like for some reason people assume it's Jameis Winston's job to lose. And I think Taysom Hill is going to have something to say about that.
So what you're telling us is Taysom's got his game face on.
Sure. He knows both of these guys know the opportunity at hand. They have a chance to lead a playoff caliber roster with one of the great offensive minds in the history of the game, Sean Payton. So there's a tremendous opportunity for them in their careers. They're both basically on one-year deals, Ricky. So this is it. They know it's kind of a prove-it year for them, and their careers could fork one way or the other. They could go on and be journeyman backups, which is not a bad way to make a living, or they become starters in New Orleans with this incredible roster around them. That, I think, is what both of them knows at stake. And it's going to be fun to see this competition play out. I haven't seen a quarterback competition with the Saints in almost 2 decades. It's been a long time for something like this to happen because of Drew Brees' longevity.
And competition breeds excellence. So it'll be interesting. Things that we don't now anticipate will happen, and it will be very interesting to watch. You have been signaling for some time now that Ryan Ramczyk was going to sign a new deal. Boy, did he sign one. Tell me about that.
Yeah, 5 years, over $90 million with incentives. He's the highest paid right tackle in the league. And it makes perfect sense for the Saints to lock him up. We knew that was a top priority for them. They now have they had some cap room that they could make this happen. I'm sure it's a backloaded deal. I haven't seen the structure yet. But Ryan Ramczyk is a core player. He eventually will be the starting left tackle once Terron Armstead moves on. But right now you have secured the best tackle tandem in the league with Armstead and Ramczyk. He's part of that great 2017 draft class. They've already locked up Alvin Kamara long-term. They're probably going to do the same thing with Marcus Williams. So that class continues to be the core foundation for this post-Drew Brees era.
We could only hope that we could have another draft with that kind of success. I mean, books will be written about that one for sure. You probably will write it. Jeff, thank you for visiting with us. And, we really enjoy visiting with you on a weekly basis. You've added so much value to Coast Vue, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on, Ricky. I love it, and look forward to talking to you again next week.
Okay, buddy. This has been Jeff Duncan. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook, facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.